Hi guys, Olive here. Here today to do the Dark Academia book tag. This tag was co-created by Emmy and Carolyn Marie Reeds. I will link both of their original videos in the description box below. I saw this tag quite a while ago, but I have been holding off on doing it because the autumnal time of year seemed like the perfect time to do this, and we are finally there. So question number 1, what is your favorite academia or dark book and movie? Well, anyone who's been around this channel for a while will know that I have a thing for dark academia. I have a thing for campus novels, and probably my favorite one is The Likeness by Tana French, the second book in the Dublin Murder Squad series. In this book, a former undercover agent goes back to being an undercover agent to take the place of a girl who was murdered, who happens to look just like her. They have an uncanny likeness. Hence the title. She moves into this house with this group of closely knit students, this girl's friends, and she has to determine who within that house murdered this girl. This book is so tense, and not only do I love the undercover agent, Cassie Maddox, I think she's a really awesome character, but in this book, we are introduced to one of my favorite characters of all time, definitely my favorite character of the entire Dublin Murder Squad series, Frank Mackey. In this book, we're not physically on campus as much as we are in other books within this subgenre, but I do still consider it a campus novel. I do still consider it to be dark academia because there is that element of being in college. All of the suspects within this house are college students, and it's discussed. And then predictably, my favorite dark academia movie is The Dead Poets Society. I actually saw it for the first time last year and absolutely fell in love with it. I'm not even the biggest fan of poetry, and I loved the actual academic discussions they had about the poetry they were reading. Robin Williams in that movie is sublime, of course, but I have to say I also really liked the way the teenage boys interacted with each other. It felt so realistic. I feel like in all of these teen movies, the teenagers talk to each other in a way that just doesn't feel real, but it felt so real in that movie, and that's one of many different reasons why it feels like this movie tore my heart out of my chest. But I still want to watch it again this year. Stemming off of that, question number 2 is appropriately, what dead poet would you like to have a drink with? As I said before, I don't read a ton of poetry. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not against it. I just have never gotten into it, maybe someday. But if I'm picking someone, I would probably go with Charlotte Bronte because she wrote poetry in addition to her novels. God, would I love to pick her brain. Although I'm not sure she would actually want to get an alcoholic drink, considering some of the problems that her brother had. So maybe we'd make it a proverbial drink or something non-alcoholic. Question number 3 is, what is your favorite painting and or sculpture? I'm still fairly new to the art world. I don't know a ton about it. I'm not trying to pretend to be someone that I'm not, but I do have a really strong affection for The Portrait of Madame X by John Singer Sargent. I read a whole book about that painting, Strapless by Deborah Davis. It talked about the creation of that painting. It talked about Paris at the time. It talked about the controversy that erupted when that portrait debuted. But lately, I've also really been loving the work of Australian artist Loribel Spirovsky. Her painting that she did last year, it's called Donna Cativa, is absolutely stunning. I love the storm of the cool toned colors, and there's something mythological about it too. I'm obsessed with her stuff. I can't get enough. I'll put a link down below if you want to see more from her. Question number 4 is, what is your favorite architectural marvel? I got to see quite a few of those when I was in Russia. I got to see many different beautiful churches. I know I mentioned in a video before that right at the end of my study abroad trip, we went up to Karelia and I got to see the Church of the Transfiguration in Kiji. It is a wooden church built mainly without nails. It does have nails on the domes and then on the roof, but nowhere else. And I have had the opportunity to stand in front of that church and marvel at it. But also the Church of the Savior on Spilled Blood in downtown St. Petersburg. It's one of the most beautiful things I think I'm ever going to get a chance to see in my lifetime, and I got to see it every single day for the entire time I lived in Russia. Oh, I really want to go back. Question number 5, what Shakespeare play would you want to be the lead in? The thing about this question is that I've been in plays before. I was very briefly a theater kid if you couldn't tell. And I know how much work it is and how much pressure it is to be the lead in a play, and I don't know that I would want that. I have always been extremely content to be a significant side character who adds a lot of attitude. In high school, I always had those types of roles, and I was always asked to play an older woman. I was Bobby Child's mother in Crazy for You, for example. So in a Shakespeare play, I would want to be someone like Juliet's nurse in Romeo and Juliet, or one of the three witches in Macbeth. Question number 6 is actually 2 questions. How many languages do you speak, and which language would you most like to learn? English is my native language, of course. I do speak a little bit of Spanish, and I speak a fair amount of Russian, but I'm not fluent in either one of them, so I guess just one. Priority number 1 for me has always been, probably always will be, to become fluent in Russian, or as fluent as I can possibly become. I am definitely not on track with that right now. I need to find language partners, and I need to get back to studying. I am very behind. I am actively losing it because I am not using it. But beyond that, I would love to learn French. Question number 7 is, what is your favorite quote? And it can be from prose, from poetry, from a play, anything like that. I do have quite a few of them. A good number of them come from my all-time favorite book, Rules of Civility by Amor Towles, but I have one marked here to read to you. There's this whole passage where the main character, Katie Content, is talking about how autumn in New York is such a magical season, and then she starts talking about the song, the jazz song, Autumn in New York. But still, you have to ask yourself, if it's such an uplifting song, then why did Billie Holiday sing it so well? You kind of have to know Billie Holiday's music to understand what she's getting at there, but that's one of about 1 million different reasons why I love this book so much. Question number 8, what fictional character's death is your ideal way to go? Probably Vida Winter from The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. You know that she's dying right from the very start, so it is not a spoiler. But I would want to go quietly, after having spilled the long-guarded secrets of my life to a complete stranger. Quiet, yet dramatic. Question number 9, what university or college would you most like to attend? I don't know that I have one, to be completely honest. I know enough by now to know that it needs to be the right program for you. It needs to be the right fit. It's less about the college itself. It's more about the program in which you're studying. But I know that's not the sexy answer. When I was in high school, I had a very quiet dream that I wanted to go to American University in Washington, D.C. I didn't tell many people about it. I didn't even really think about it all that much, because I knew there was just no way I was going to be able to afford it. Even if I got in, there was no way I could afford to live in DC, so I did not bother applying. I do have an interest in studying at a place like Oxford or Cambridge, of course, but I think I would want to just take a class or two just to get a feel for what it's like, and then peace out and go do my own thing. Because listen, I loved college, but I do not have a strong desire to be a college student again. Question number 10 is, what is your murder weapon or murder method of choice? Believe it or not, I've never actually spent any time thinking about this, and I'm really not about to start now, especially because I'm not looking to prove the millions of BuzzFeed quizzes right when they say that INTJs are all unfeeling murderers. So I will just go with what my clue preference always was, Miss Scarlet in the library with a knife. Question number 11, what mythology would you most like to be a part of? Anything involving Athena. I would just like to be Athena. She is so badass. She's the goddess of olives and wisdom. Love that. Her bird was the owl. I feel like half of the decorations in my house are owl related. The other half are birch trees. And they would often say that Athena had gray eyes, the gray-eyed goddess. And that's the color of my eyes. Obviously meant to be. Question number 12 is, if you had to do a PhD, what would you choose to do it on? Well, I wouldn't do a PhD. That is far too much work in one subject for my liking. I get bored in a nanosecond. I need to bounce between subjects. But I have really been interested in going back and getting a master's. I've toyed with the idea of going back for English literature because obviously I love books and reading and diving into character studies, and I could see myself becoming a teacher, a professor at some point. My mom's been a teacher my whole life. I've been a tutor before. I've worked in childcare a number of times. It's always something that I've been drawn to. But then there's the other side of me, the robot side of me, that loves logic and data. And so a data analytics program is highly appealing as well. Question number 13 is, what fictional character would you die for? Well, I wouldn't, because it's a fictional character and not a real person. Again, robot brain. There is no way for me to convince myself that that's a real person and not a fictional character, even if it's historical fiction. I know that that person isn't a living, breathing person. I wish I could do that. Apparently a lot of people can, and I imagine it allows for a lot more connection between you and the characters in fiction. But I just can't do it. It's a limitation of my brain. I do have characters that I deeply love, though. I mean, Frank Mackey, I mentioned him earlier. He's one of my all-time favorite characters. There's Katie Content from my favorite book, Rules of Civility. Molly from Wives and Daughters. Oh, Molly. Fanny Price from Mansfield Park. I made a whole video about her. And then the Burgess sisters from The Night Circus. I could never choose just one. So that's it for the formal questions, but this tag concludes with a round of rapid-fire questions. So I'm going to be presented with 2 different options, and I have to choose one of the 2. So, number 1, leather-bound or cloth-bound books? Cloth-bound. Question number 2, dog-earing pages or highlighting pages? I don't like either of those, but if forced to choose, I would go with dog-earing, because you can undo that. It may never go exactly back to the way it was, but unless it's an erasable highlighter, that's there forever. Number 3, sculptures or paintings? Paintings. Question number 4, piano or violin? I love both, but if I'm being forced to choose, violin. Number 5, films or theater? Theater, absolutely. Number 6, poetry or prose? Prose. Number 7, museums or bookshops? This is impossible, because it kind of depends on what kind of each one we're talking about. Because if it's a natural history museum, I'm going to go to that, but if it's a used bookstore, I'm going to go to that. And if forced to choose between those 2, I guess it depends on how much money I have on me at the time. Number 8, the smell of books or the smell of coffee/tea? Absolutely the smell of coffee/tea. I've never been one of those book lovers who's loved the smell of books. I wish I did. My mom loves the smell of books, but I guess that gene missed me. Smell is not my dominant sense anyway. Number 9, a fountain pen or a typewriter? Okay, well, I would choose a word processor, ideally. I know everyone loves the aesthetic of the typewriter, but I've actually used one of those before, and I know what a pain they are. So I'm gonna go with a fountain pen. And number 10, new or used books? Used books every time. So that was the Dark Academia tag. Tons of fun, but a little bit on the niche side. I'm having trouble thinking of people who do tags who would enjoy doing this one. So if you're out there and this seems like fun, you want to do it, feel free to do it and say that I tagged you. Any comments or questions about anything you've seen in this video or about anything in general can go in the comment section below. But if you're looking to reach out to me somewhere other than YouTube, I am on a variety of different places on social media, and the links to all of my profiles are in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.